Hey, welcome to the Cam Otis Show. In this episode, Peter Dickinson from the UK is joining us, and I'm pretty excited to get into it with Peter because this guy, if you want to know about sales, this guy wrote the book on sales. At least that's my opinion after having a few conversations with you. Hey, Peter, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Otis. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. And hello, Cam.
I just got to say, because of the timing of this, I think the proper thing to say at this point is my condolences, our condolences for your
Yeah,
queen's passing, correct?
yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. We are a country in mourning. She will be missed. Um, yeah, sadly missed. It's a bit strange at the moment for us, but thank you for
Mhm.
that. It's
Yeah.
appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah. Of course. Of course. So, I mean, I said it in the intro, the sales. What is it that drives you that you're so passionate and I think have the natural gift for it also to be this guy that can sell? What got you there?
It's very interesting. It's a long journey that I came on. I didn't start in sales. And it's interesting that you say a talent. It's earned this, it's learned and
Mm.
earned my talent. I wasn't born with this. And I would like to say that anybody entering the business development, account management, sales, whatever you want to call it, it's not, you don't have to be this person that engages completely and is a character. You don't have to be that. What you have to do is focus on the client pain.
Mm.
And so you ask there, Otis, why do I do it? I absolutely love resolving clients' problems and seeing their sales staff develop and and their customers benefit. So wherever we can add value, we're going to talk. If you ask me any more about sales, that word is going to come out all the time. Value. And I now am in a position where I wouldn't even approach anybody unless I could identify that they had pain and I had the aspirin. And
Mm.
I would want to be absolutely clear on how I deliver their solution. How did I
You
get into this? Do you really want to? Do you want me to go back? And this all started in 1976. I started working in mainframes with a large UK corporate company that was all over the world, International Computers, and
you're talking like the big when you say mainframes, you're talking about the fills the room mainframes.
yeah, well, it will fill a basketball pitch. Okay, huge. And in 1976, we had core store. We had round magnets with copper wires going through for memory.
Hmm.
Yeah, this was amazing. It meant that when the machine switched off at night, you still had the boot information in the core store in the morning. So it came up much quicker rather than waiting for discs to spin or now
Yeah.
we don't have any of that. But it was very exciting, very seat of the pants. I went all over the world as international tech support. And when I came back to I was outside of the UK I lived in the States for a little bit. When I came back to the UK, in 1992, I realized things had changed and I still wanted to work in that field and with the same business, but I needed to change. We were now coding machines that were telling us what was wrong with them. This is fantastic, but it did me out of a job. I was thinking, the writing's on the wall here, Peter, move out. And so I went into sales and I was really, really fortunate that they had some fantastic internal training for me. And then I went back around the world in international sales. And 2005, I set up on my own because I had a 20 million pound annual target, which was very, very difficult to
Yeah.
win. I was working with financial institutions, banks, etc. And so I stuck out on my own, called myself Harrogate Business Advisors. I'm a business coach now. Harrogate's the name of my town where I live in the beautiful county of Yorkshire. If you don't
Mm.
know where that is, think of London and then head to Scotland. And we're right at the top north, almost at the top northern part of England, not UK, England. Um, yeah, and so for 17 years now, I've been coaching small business owners from maybe 5 to 100 staff and just helping them align their ambitions with tactical plans on how to get there. Does that
What
answer
kind
it? Sorry.
of it, what kind of advantage or, gain in perspective do you think you have from your time working on the mainframes?
That's interesting. Yeah, because when you're working on a mainframe, there's about maybe 16 staff that you need to operate it. You need people to put stuff in, and you need people to take stuff out. And we had those punched cards in those days.
Yeah.
We've got all those 80 columns on the, and I used to code in punched card. Oh, wow. And that means that when the machine is broken, you see the effect on the business. The production stops and everybody's sitting around waiting for you to fix it. And so that identify the client's problem as quick as you can and get the solution together as quick as you can was the same ethos I took with me into sales that says, hey, you've got a problem. I will show you how to resolve that, and just use, I don't know, part of it's imagination. Part of it is knowledge.
Was that a gap that you saw inside of sales? Because you made a comment earlier of, don't be a character, focus on the pain point. So I'm guessing you saw a lot of those characters and it was a little bit of an annoyance for you.
I did. I saw the shiny shoe brigade. And I was never that. I was more, was there an opening? Yeah, I think there was. I think if you only think about the client and stand in their shoes, they respect you and they want to talk to you and they'll open up more. If all you're doing is trying to sell the box that you have, regardless of whether it fulfills their complete need. Yeah, so I wouldn't say I'm the only. In fact, I have met other salespeople with my ethos, but they're few and far between. In fact, it's all in a fictional story called The Go-Giver by Bob Berg is a co-author with John David Mann. Huge plug for them because they're a great pair of guys and they've got a great story on sales. Now, when I read The Go-Giver, I didn't think, wow, I want to be a go-giver. What I did think was, wow, those guys have really nailed my ethos. That is, only go where you can add value. Don't open your mouth. Don't pick up the phone. Don't send them an email unless you've already checked. You've done your research and you know that they are very likely to be feeling the pain that you're resolving currently for your clients. Yeah.
I love that. To only go where you can add value. That's, one of the things that I've seen both personally in our business and with other coaches and truthfully, even broader sense, other businesses. Matter of fact, now that I'm saying this, a business that I worked for many years ago the owner used to say, we'll do everything to include wash windows. And it's such a dichotomy, because I think that's where everybody goes wrong with their businesses. They're like, I can help everybody. I want to help. I don't want to exclude anybody. But that's the downfall. How do you tweak them? How do you, is it a baseball bat, or maybe for you a cricket bat that you smack them with? Or
I'm glad you know about cricket. Well done, fantastic. I'm a huge cricket fan. I'm also a huge baseball fan. I lived in Des Moines, Iowa, and it was a feeder for Chicago. And I went to Chicago with a friend from Iowa. Went in the car. That was a fun day. To Wrigley Field, watching baseball.
Beautiful.
It was beautiful. It was unforgettable. I still remember that day. It was absolutely brilliant. So I love the game. I don't know. What was the question? How do I hit them with a baseball bat? Do you mean how do you open that conversation?
Yeah. So that's, when you sit down with the owner, as the sales consultant that you're doing now, how do you convince them that it's like, hey, you can't help everybody? So how do you get them to say, all right, this is because that's where we want, right? We want to be in this little narrow space.
Right. What I want them to do, I will say to them, give me a list of services and products that you guys are able to deliver. And maybe there are 15. And I'll say, which one of them would be the real key, the opener that would unlock the client? And I don't care if that's just a $5,000 project. I don't care. It's going to open up the door to speak about the other 14 services or products. But we never, ever go in with a bullet point list of this is what we can do for you. And the reason for that is twofold. One is when you go niche and you really focus on the client's issue and you do it well, they love what you do. They will ask you, can you guys also? Or after 90 days, you can do an account review and you can say, have you thought about this? And where's your business going? Do you do this, this, this? And you can, once you're in, you can start to open up your store. But what's happened with poor sales practice over the last decade and more is that we humans now, all of us, me included, everybody brings up their sales shields. They go, oh, to protect themselves. They're completely bombarded, aren't we? Spam emails. It was said, this was said pre-COVID, but on your way into the office, you've been bombarded by about 500 marketing messages on the radio, texts to your phone, on the bus, on the train, on the billboards. Everywhere you go, you're getting this buy from me. And so what we look for is how we can reject that message quickly. So you send me a bullet list of 10 things. There might be 7 things on there that are really relevant, but I just scan. Everybody's doing this. They scan down as quickly as they can because we look for the no. We look for how we're going to close that out. And so never go, I am a broad solution for everything you want. That's crazy. Just tell them how you can fix one thing and add value to their business. And then they'll open up the door to other things.
Do you think that the reason that so many business owners fall into that trap is because they approach it, like a lot of business owners, from the problem solving side of things? So they look at it and say, I solved this problem. I can solve it for all of these people. Therefore, I'm selling it to all of these people. Is that where you think that, that confusion comes from?
That is a reasonable chain of thought that says, I can fix this. But as long as it wasn't a bundled solution, then I am happy if my client wants to take their solution to businesses that look and feel like the ones that they've already. I've mangled that answer, but you know what I mean? I don't mind that we look for other businesses with the same problem. That's a good thing. That's excellent. In fact, I encourage my clients to draw dream client lists. Who are the people in your region or your geographic reach, whatever that is, that you would really love to work with? Let's list them. Let's put them down and look at them. Let's look at how we could get into them. What would it take for us to be supplying something to them? And that's what I do for them. We get them on the dream client list. We win some of their dream clients. I know this sounds outrageous, but you want to work with Disney. Okay, what do we need to do? Who do you know? Who do we know that knows somebody? How do we do that? Let's have a campaign. Let's start to just, it doesn't matter how big they are. If they're on the dream client list, we can supply to them.
I love that, because I have a friend of mine who calls it big action.
Okay.
And it's kind of taking that same thing, the dream client list. The dream 100 was another way I've been taught it. And you spend an hour or two a week, every week,
exactly, on
that list.
Yes.
And you know what? 52 swings of the bat in a year, there's one thing that holds true. If you don't ask, they won't tell you no.
Absolutely.
Nor will they tell you yes. So
absolutely. Yeah. If you're diligent and you're being absolutely genuine, that you can help them. If I'm placing a call to somebody that's a dream client and I'm saying, the reason I want to speak with Bob, your CEO, is that people like Bob come to us for this. They're having this sort of problem and they come to us for this sort of solution. And we are helping them with A, B, and C. Now, how does Bob? How is Bob doing in that regard? A, B, and C, and so I'm talking about getting through the channels, the multiple channels to get through to the top decision maker. Often I would never start at the CEO. I would start way, way lower down and confirm that my suspicions that prospect is actually facing the issues I think he is. I would start lower down and confirm it. Typically, I'd speak with a salesperson in the target.
That's a great point, and I think that's something else that business owners miss is they've got the great idea, and they think because they think it's a great idea, everybody else is going to be.
Yeah.
So how do you help them, I guess, find out if this idea that they have is truly the right thing?
Well, by the time I meet them, they're already of a size. They're not going to be a startup. So they must have had customers. They must be turning over. They must have some sales for them to even have 5 staff. So I just look at what they do and try and, if it's perfect, if the operation or the product is, I don't want to touch it. I want to be, okay, then it's absolutely perfectly parceled. Let's go out and sell it. But if it's not, I want to go back and make sure it is actually doing what they say it does in the timescales and it's properly priced for the client. It's easy to find these things out by speaking with existing customers. This is something else I do. So early on in my engagement with a new business, I personally will want to speak to some of their customers. And I ask them, why do you buy from us? And I get all sorts of, oh, well, you're not the cheapest. And I go, fantastic. I'm glad we're not the cheapest. So why do you keep buying from us then? Well, you guys, you bend over backwards, your technical knowledge, your geographic reach, the way that you help us all the time. And then I've got all of this. Yeah, it's a feel good. We should all be speaking with our clients regularly and asking them, how are we doing? What have we done over the last 3 months that's really improved? And how's that been a business benefit to you? I don't just want them to say, your guys get in every day on time or something, whatever it is. I want them to tell me the value that they've received from the service or the product, our intervention. What's it done? And how do you feel about that? What would it have been if that didn't happen? How would that world look? And so they're now thinking, wow, we really, really need these guys. These are fantastic. Draw them through the pain tunnel.
Are there any pitfalls that you've seen businesses fall into as they go to, pull that information from the customers and, get that positive feedback? I guess I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate here, but I could see that almost falling into a trap of, you're talking to the 5 people who would ever buy this type of a product instead of the people who won't buy it because there's something wrong with it and those type of things. Is that a pitfall that you see?
No, I'm not sure what you mean by that, Cam. I don't think. No, sorry. You want to just word that a different way so I can?
Yeah, I guess what I mean is that if you go out and you're speaking with the customers because they're people that are already buying the product, they already see it as a good product.
Yes.
When what I mean is that there might be a portion of people out there who see the negative sides that you're missing out on all of that negative information.
Yeah, sorry. I was talking about speaking with existing customers to get that value information back from them. And then I use that value information to go out and speak with others. And if any of their customers or their prospects feel that that solution doesn't do anything for them, then they shouldn't be a customer and they shouldn't be on the prospect list. So we're in the wrong area. I don't want anybody to be buying anything that they don't think is solving their problem. I know that sounds a little bit high, but that's how the world should be. We should just be selling things and doing it right. Selling things that add value to other people and do that right. That's simple. It is really simple in sales.
When you start working with these the little bit larger, let's say the larger end, the approaching 100 staff.
Yeah.
How did and this is Cam, I can't remember who we had on. We were talking kind of in the same sort of sense the other day. That sales team now.
Yeah.
And the infamous great salesman becoming the sales manager sort of problem set. How do you handle that setup?
That is it's a very good question. The first thing I want to do personally is assess each of them, and I want to spend some one-on-one time with them. Maybe it's an hour, but I prefer a day. Let's match diaries, and I'll come out and spend some screen time with you, and we'll really understand how you're handling calls, how you're relating and engaging with customers, and I'll do an assessment. And then from that, I will be able to work out the maturity of the salesperson in terms of not just how long they've been doing it, but what they're covering in their meetings. And it's all strange now because some of those meetings will be over Zoom, and that's fine. But I will spend personal time in front of their face. I wouldn't do this on a screen. You need to see the white of their eyes to understand salespeople, because we're complex beasts. And then I would be recommending certain things that they should be doing. We could practice calls. We could do some script practice. And I want to be doing these things with them, but I want them to be writing them. And then I want to see best practice. So if there's something that somebody's doing that's really good in the team, maybe they don't realize that other members of the team should be doing that as well. And I want them all to feel lifted. I want them all to feel inspired, motivated, and really good about themselves. A lot of the things I do with salespeople is simple mindset. It's mindset readjustment. Stop trying to sell. Forget the word sell and think of serve. You have a whole range of customers that you're currently serving. Why not serve them some more and serve other customers who look and feel like them, other businesses who look and feel like your customers, serve them as well. Because we often have a block or a challenge, a wall to climb when we're in sales. We convince ourselves it's hard, we're going to get rejected. So it's a mindset thing as well, giving people a very positive. Why would you be negative if you know you can help the guy, girl? They're just another human. They've got problems and you know you can fix them. As long as you position yourself properly and be polite, then you're going to get traction. And so I want all salespeople to be rich, everyone I work with. I want them all hitting target. I want all the customers to be making huge amounts of profit. That's it. We don't sell anything that doesn't improve the position of the customer.
Do you have you seen inside of that mindset switch, moving from sell to serve?
Yeah.
Do you still see and I don't know if there's a better word for this, maybe because I'm not in sales, but that kind of I don't know, mentality trap that people fall into when the sales aren't going well, that they start to beat themselves up. Like I talk about this in the entrepreneur sense a lot of, it's like when you have the baby, your business is your baby and you show it and someone goes, that's an ugly baby. And you take it really personally. When you make that mindset switch from sell to serve, does it still hurt when someone calls the baby ugly, or is that kind of a, superpower?
Yes, it does. And I've had that conversation with a client, salesperson, exactly that conversation this morning. And he was listing the rejections. I could see the more he was talking, the more he was talking himself down. And I said, but what about just a couple of weeks ago when 3 opportunities came through, 3 requests came through from the groundwork that you've done. So you wait and wait and wait and everything's fallow, nothing's happening. And then suddenly within 2 days, 3 opportunities need pursuing. None of them have been signed as yet, but it's that. So what I'd like you to do is don't think I've had 10 days of lean negativity and nothing's going anywhere, but think about the 2 days when, and how did that feel? And let's try and replicate that feeling. That's what I want to do. I want them to focus on positivity.
Yeah. And we do that with our clients. I think that's a great thing to do. And, you know, I always force them to have three wins, right? And it's kind of funny. Everybody can name 2, and then they go, and I'm like, you know, how was that sandwich you had for lunch? Was it good? Yeah. Right. I mean, something was good. You can't tell me it was all bad, right? Which makes me think, and I've struggled with this with our business, and I've heard many other businesses struggle with it, is how do you incentivize sales? You know, there's still so many positions out there that are, 100% commission. You know, there's no salary or anything with it.
Yeah.
And then that's a different kind. Well, I'll shut up and let you answer. How do you incentivize?
Yeah. Now, that is the answer to that, gentlemen, is a very, very long podcast that we'll have to book another time. How to incentivize salespeople is a dark art. People want different things. Some people like a title. I want to be regional manager. My region is simply my city. Hey, but I'm regional manager. Okay. And they're happy now because they've got, you know what I mean? It's very, very strange. When it comes to people who are on 100% commission, usually they're not giving 100% commitment. Usually they're doing something else, or they're spending their time. It can be lucrative, and I've done it. I've worked that way. But I know it's hard to put your heart and mind into something when you don't have a part of it, and you're not, you know, they ignore you until you bring a sale in. That's difficult. And then incentivizing, it's a minefield. It's very, very difficult. It'll depend on what the product is, depend on how often the client needs to renew that product, depend if it's a service that the costs start going up, because you've got to be looking at what the profit is. That's one thing I would say. Only pay salespeople on the profit. I do meet people that sell on revenue, that pay commission on revenue. When you pay commission on revenue, you encourage the salesperson to discount, because she's going to get paid a commission anyway. But if that makes a loss, that sale, she'll get nothing.
Oh, that's I'd never thought about that math. That's a really good.
I've been there as well.
Do you think that there's any, or I guess, how would you untangle the commission aspect of sales and like that kind of natural competitive aspect that comes into sales? How do you balance that with still wanting a team environment and cooperation rather than just competition? Because they seem like, especially with commission, but even without commission, it seems like it's just you got a naturally competitive environment, naturally competitive people for the most part, that then you're trying to cooperate with each other. How do you do that?
Yeah, I know. And again, that's another huge podcast on just how to manage a team like that. And I've got clients who won't have individual commission for that reason. They'll have team commission. That way they're forced to work together. So that's another way to do it. So another is that they can be paid. Smaller businesses will pay a bonus to all of their staff if the business is successful. So at the end of a successful year, they'll take a proportion of that profit and share it amongst the workers. If you're in that sort of organization, the sales team, that will be their commission. That will be their only bonus. So it will depend. it just depends on the circumstances. It's a very hard question, and I can see why people grapple with it and people get it wrong. So you want to attract the best talent, so you want to make the best package possible. But you don't want to attract the talent that just makes it, a person with a shark fin on their back, and they just, whoa, get out of my way. I'm coming for the kill. That's what you will encourage if it's pure high-end commission. I know it's going to sound like I'm waffling, but it's so complex, and it will depend on the business and how they're structured and how their product or service is delivering a profit. Also, when I was in corporate sales, my contracts often were lasting 3 years. So if it's a $1 million contract, do you give the guy commission on the 3 million? And then in 6 months he's gone, and and the contract falls apart, and it's really, really difficult. And so year one is the proper commission rate, and then year two is a diminished commission rate, and year three is a further diminished commission rate. Or you somehow have a clawback that if anything goes wrong and the profits start being affected because of the way you sold it, you oversold it, they can claw back. But usually you can only do that from future commissions. So the person needs to still be on payroll for you to do that. So I apologize if that doesn't sound like I have answered that question, but honestly, that is such a tough, and there are so many multiple shades of answers to that, depending on the business, the product, the service, the geography. Yeah.
We're a big fan of we always joke the economist answer on the show of, well, yeah, it depends. List out 10 more variables and I could give you an answer, but yeah, it depends.
I'm happy to sit in that category for now. Yeah. On the fence.
What's a trend that you see happening in sales? I mean, you've been doing it for quite some time, and things of the means of communication has changed, but how has the sell itself changed?
Yeah, that's also an interesting question, and it brings in masses of different facets. Right now, when we're making a sale, we have to be aware of how we're going to deliver. And two big issues worldwide, it's certainly in the UK, are supply chain issues. So it's okay me going out and selling shed loads of product, but we then put an order in which used to take 6 days, and now it's taking, especially since we've left the European Union, the administrative nightmare we have with paperwork of transporting goods between countries. But a lot of our product used to come from China and the Far East. And of course, since COVID, either that stopped or the prices have gone up by a factor of 6, which is frightening. That's the first thing. Selling something that you can deliver because we've got supply chain issues. The second thing is, if you need a service, it's a resource delivery. So the human resource is a problem now. And 2 factors, I think, play there. Again, the fact that we're not part of the European market. Labor used to move across borders before. Now that expertise has gone back home. But the second thing is that during COVID, when you made those more mature workers furloughed, they started to feel less engaged in the business and more engaged with their backyard, the children, walking the dog, and everything else that goes with being furloughed. And if you're 55 and you think, well, I could just draw my pension down earlier, and I don't have to, I'll reduce my, what I mean? Each individual. So what happened, and again, I'm speaking about Europe, a big skill set went from the top end of the workforce that we can't replace with apprentices coming in as teenagers and early 20s. So it's very difficult to, that's one change I've seen. Then you're right. The next biggest change is technology. That was coming anyway, but it was a huge fast forward that everybody's on Zoom. Do you remember Skype? We used to use Skype, didn't we? That's just gone. Nobody talks about that anymore. I don't know where it went. So Zoom, Teams are the two places that everybody uses. And it makes it a lot more difficult because for me, to be successful in sales and to be successful with your customers, you need to meet them. Mm. Now, the geography is different in the States. I appreciate that. And maybe you guys were warming towards remote meetings anyway. But to have strong relationships, I always like to be with them. Mm-hmm. I'm old-fashioned.
You know, that makes me think, Skype. I actually had a friend who was going through a job interview and he sent me a picture of it that they made him download Skype for the job interview. I was like, yeah, I don't think you want that job, man. That's got to be the one company out there that's still using Skype. But you kind of hinted to actually my next question, which, you spoke about spending some time in the States. I think that a lot of, business psychology and, the behavioral sciences and a lot of that, they tend to be skewed a lot towards a lot of American, social systems because, a lot of that research is being done here. What kind of differences do you see? And I guess this is an easier comparison because the UK is still very similar, even though there's a lot of differences. What kind of cultural differences do you see in the sales side of thing and like that sales psychology in the two?
That's interesting. I'm afraid to say that I think a lot of the bad practice in sales has some of it's come from the States. Mm-hmm. A lot of it's come from India. Don't get me wrong. These constant spamming, but this high level of I don't know, self-worth. This is very difficult for me to find the words for, but typically a Brit would be more subdued, a little bit more easygoing, a little bit, where an American salesperson, I feel, and I could be completely out of order here, is a lot of the time trying to make the deal. The best ones are those that are following this. I will only speak with them if I can add value. I would only, if you're doing that, then you're absolutely in the top small percentage. Most people are just hitting numbers. They're just thinking, everybody hears it, don't they? Sales is a numbers game. But whilst that's true, you can improve your conversion numbers by being more focused, by only dealing with the people where you can add value. I said early on in this podcast, you're going to hear this word value a lot. But honestly, if you just could think about, I don't wish to waste this lady's time unless I know I can bring something that improves her life or her business, then that's the best way to sell. So I do think there are a lot of people, and the two authors that I mentioned are both American, and I read a lot. You're right. A lot of the things, Jeb Blunt, I'm just looking up at the Anthony Iannarino. These are fantastic authors. And you have to apply it to Europe. I have to read those things and then and use my common sense that say, we wouldn't exactly do that. We would do it in a slightly more longer, more gentle approach, I think.
Mm-hmm. I have a simpler version of that question that I want to follow up with real quick. Do y'all have the used car salesman persona over there as much? Because I think that's where a lot of that culture comes from. Is a lot of our first impressions of sales is the used car salesman who's trying to pull the wool over your eyes. Do you have that same equivalent in the UK?
We do. Yeah, we do have the used car salesman mentality. And that isn't the person's fault. If you introduce somebody into an environment where you tell them, just go out there, say whatever you like, just get those cars sold. That's ridiculous. When are these people going to come back? When are they going to tell their son, their brother, their friend, their business associate that they've had good service? One of the things that I do is a session where we just talk about value, and we talk about, when have you in your life outside of work perceived that you've received value? Mm-hmm. Think of an occasion. And strangely, when you go around the room, somebody might be talking about a restaurant that says they rushed us in, they rushed us out, they wanted to get our table changed for the next sitting, and so it was a terrible service. And somebody else may say in the same room, well, we were in a bit of a hurry, we were going to the theatre, so it was fantastic that the meal just came within 10 minutes and we were out within 45 minutes, and I love that place. Now, what does that tell you? They both went to the same restaurant. They both had a different experience. So it depends on how the people are perceiving that service, that value. Mm. Does that answer it? You said that was an easy question. I don't even know.
I was just looking for a yes or no. Are there used car salesmen?
Yeah, we have used car salespeople, but it's not their fault that they have that mentality. It's the employer's fault, and the people that have told them to be like that.
I have a cultural experience story that you reminded me of, and that was buying a pig in Doughboy, Bosnia, and to cook for a big barbecue. Mm-hmm. And me, as the American, I wanted to go in and say, all right, I want that pig. How much for that pig? All right, negotiate a little bit on the price, hand them that money, grab the pig and go. Right? That was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
My interpreter said, no, this is going to be a minute. And we literally sat there for, I think it was about a 4-hour purchase for, I don't know, probably $100 pig, young sow that we bought. And it was back and forth, everything from how's your mother to your sister's ugly to, and you talk about a cultural difference, because, and I think that's, for me, what I've experienced over the years in all my travels is just that. And I think that's an American thing is, all right, get me to the point. All right, are you buying or not? All right, I got $100. I want a pig. And, and I think that's, that cultural difference can be.
Yeah. I put that down to founding fathers were adventurous, and they needed things doing, and they needed things doing quickly. And it was life or death, early days. And so if you've got that in your genes, then you're going to produce offspring. And so a whole nation now has this, this isn't fair. You cannot paint any nation with one brush.
Right.
And it's a good thing. It's a good thing. People love the enthusiasm of American people they get up and go, and So whilst I say that, I'm not being negative. In fact, I loved my time in the States. I tried to stay there. But it didn't work out. So, there are cultural differences. We do have poor sales, but that's really down to the employer. It's not the individual.
Love that.
Did you say something, Cam?
I was just saying, love that. I thought, it's not the individual, it's a system there. And the incentives and all that. That makes a lot of sense. I hadn't thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? I'd be willing to bet a lot of people haven't thought about it that way. When it's not the sales team, it's the culture, the values of the organization.
That's exactly right.
That creates that environment.
That's it. Yeah. You're right. You see it in organizations, and I say you can't say that. You can't say that to your sales staff. That's going to set them off on the wrong route. Mm-hmm. That's just ridiculous as well. Anyway, we won't fix that overnight.
Well, and we've got podcast 2 and 3 already live.
How to pay your sales staff. Yeah, book me for that.
Yeah.
Even I want to learn that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Man, talk about lessons learned and what I learned, and wow, it was. I'm going to go back to I think my favorite thing that you said is only go where you can add value. Why? One of the things I always remember in the sales world was get to know. Have them say saying no is almost as good as yes, because then I'm not continuing to buy them a cup of coffee, right?
Yeah.
But if they're never going to buy, why am I even talking to them? I think that's how am I can't add value to somebody that doesn't want the value. And I think there's something to be said for that, without all the derivatives of the, staying in contact and all those sort of things. But if you can't add value to that person, why are you taking their time?
That's exactly right. Well done.
Yeah.
That's exactly the point. If you're wasting a prospect's time, not only will they never speak with you, but they'll do you down later. If they have the opportunity, they will diss you. All I want is customers that are advocates, that speak about you behind your back in a fantastically glowing way. That's what you need. You need to be delivering service at that level. Just winning advocates all the time.
Yeah.
Camden, how about you? What'd you learn?
Yeah, and it's kind of in the same vein of, adding value. We said this, it's sales is a number game, but you should never think about the numbers like that. And to me, that just rings so true for sales, business, even life. The thing that brought me into business and economics was this realization that that's the way the world works, no matter what you want to do about it. And then there's this, without going too far into it, then you have the addition of psychology and all these type of things that add the human components to it, to where the math is huge. The math is essential, but the math's not what really matters. What matters is the people inside of the math equations. And I had never really thought about it in that way for sales, but it is the numbers game, but it's not about the numbers. And that is such a big realization.
Yeah.
Awesome. Peter, how about you? What'd you learn?
I've learned, do you mean just in this last podcast?
Yes, sir.
That's a strange question for me. What have I learned? I felt like I'd done most of the talking, and so what did I learn? What did I learn in that? I was reminded that if you're really going to stand out in sales and you're really going to do well as a business, I mean, to find new customers. And by the way, if you're adventurous and you're moving forward and you're looking at new horizons, then at some stage you're thinking about growing your business, employing more people. You're going to need more customers. At that point, you're going to have to be thinking, what am I doing that stands out to them? What am I doing for my customer base, where they're all feeling like it's changed them in some way? That is phenomenal. When you can make an emotional, and that's what sales is, it's all about emotion. Do you know, every sale is made on emotion and then is justified later with logic. This is bizarre. If you told me years ago that every time I made a sale, and this is all the way back, every trade, I mean, all the way back from cavemen days, and every trade that ever will happen in the future as well, is made on emotion. Because the first thing we do is we think, and within a millisecond, we've made our mind up about whether we're going to go with this sale or not. And then we get in the car and our wife says, why did you, and you justify, well, the cost, and he's got it there down by Tuesday, and he's going to, no. He told you this was going to make you far more macho or far more noticeable, or he said something that massively resonated. So if we buy on emotion, then we all need to be aware that we're selling on emotion. Yeah.
Oh, that's a really
it's profound. It's profound.
Yeah. Because I don't think a lot of people, they go through the list of I just drew a blank on the word. It's not values, but like the parts of the car. The car will do this. It has a rear view mirror. It has this.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah. Features, advantages, and benefits.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that doesn't have the B word there, does it? But it doesn't have value in it at all, which is crazy.
Yeah. That is. It's rather ironic because that's how all cars are pretty much sold, right? When you.
Yeah. Emotion.
Yeah. Well, Peter, how do folks get in touch with you, find you, follow you, learn more about how to build your sales team?
So my business is called Harrogate Business Advisors. My website is hbadvisors.co.uk. That will have all my contact details on there. LinkedIn, of course, Peter Dickinson. Find me on LinkedIn. Just by the way, when you look, do not pity me. On LinkedIn, I only have about 300 connections because I used to have thousands. And just about 2 months ago, everything was deleted. All my contacts were deleted off LinkedIn. So don't look at me as some guy that's just new. I've been on LinkedIn since 2006. All my contacts went overnight. I wrote to LinkedIn and asked for help. No. Join me on LinkedIn. I'm building up my network again.
Awesome. Thank you. Hey, Peter.
Thank you.
It's been great having you on the show. Really appreciate you taking some time to spend with us today.
No, I've enjoyed it thoroughly. I've had fun. Thank you.
Awesome. Camden, run us out, please.
All right. Thank you all for listening to the Cam Otis Show, and a special thanks to our guest, Peter Dickinson, for joining us today. And of course, our sponsor, Tribe and Purpose. Find your tribe, find your purpose. Get started for free today at findyourpurpose.coach. Make sure to follow the Cam Otis Show on Instagram and Facebook. And please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening. Videos of the podcast on our YouTube page. And you can always get a full archive of our episodes at thecamandotisshow.buzzsprout.com. Thanks again, and we'll see y'all next time.